So, in the build up to the American election, less than a year and a half ago, we were told that there would be no war in Iran. The funny thing is that there were some people who actually believed it. I wonder how they're feeling now.
What the fuck? I mean, is this, so it was just all a joke? The whole thing was a joke. Or it's just a cult, Trump is in charge.
J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard. Donald Trump has made his bed. Like, this really is it.
So they're taking it well then. I shouldn't laugh really, should I? I mean, it's not nice being lied to. It's not nice being manipulated. You voted for this person under false pretenses. You actually thought he was going to deliver on the things he said he was going to deliver on. But you see, this is the thing. We used to have this thing within democracies, within the United Kingdom and the United States, two countries that I've followed quite closely politically over the last 15, 20 years. And we used to have this thing where we didn't vote for arseholes, to put it bluntly. Yeah? We used to think, well, you know, if you come across as a narcissistic, manipulative, vicious, despicable human being, you probably won't make a very good leader of the entire country. There was a time when people like Donald Trump couldn't get a sniff of power. When he was thinking about running back in 2012, back when he was doing that whole birtherism thing, you know, Obama's not really American. Why would you suspect him of not being American? It couldn't be to do with his skin color, could it? No, of course not. Well, anyway, that was his thing, to try and shoot to prominence, and, well, he realized very early on it wasn't getting him anywhere. But 4 years later, in 2016, an opportunity had opened up. It was the time of the narcissist. It was the time of the psychopath. There was this big opportunity now for the worst human beings to be able to get to high office. And what is it that shifted? Well, a number of things. I mean, people got really upset with the status quo. They got to a stage where they thought being polished and well-spoken and civilized, maybe that was all just a cover for something much darker, a cover for the deep state. A lot of people chart the rise of Trump actually as being directly related to Barack Obama, who was in so many ways your perfect identikit politician. He was polished, he was charming, he was suave, he was erudite, educated, debonair. He came across in a manner that indicated that he knew what he was talking about. He seemed like the sort of person who you could trust, who you could rely on. But he didn't deliver. We've got to be honest. He didn't deliver. He bailed out the bankers and he let ordinary people lose their homes and end up in a life of poverty and destitution. I'm not saying there was nothing good that was achieved under Barack Obama. He did manage to improve the healthcare situation to a certain extent, but there were many areas in which he didn't deliver. And corporate America saw Obama as their champion, and they were the ones who ended up happiest from his 8 years in office. A lot of ordinary Americans felt betrayed, and they turned to Trump as a result. Let's come to the UK, a country that I'm much more familiar with. And in this country, we made a similar pact with the devil. You see, there was this guy called Boris Johnson that, of course, we will all remember. And he said that he would get Brexit done, didn't he? That was his whole pitch. That's why he became leader of the Conservative Party, because he'd pushed for, advocated for leaving the European Union, even though he'd written 2 pieces for his newspaper column in the build-up to the referendum, where in one piece he was saying all the reasons we should leave, and another piece he was giving all the reasons we should stay, showing that he absolutely is not a conviction politician, that he's very much someone who is driven by opportunism, that he, similarly to Donald Trump, is a narcissist, that he cares only for himself, his only concern is his self-advancement. This is who Boris Johnson is, this is who Boris Johnson has always been. And a lot of people knew it. A lot of people sensed it, but they thought, you know what, We need him to get the job done. He is the guy who's going to deliver this great Brexit that is going to make the UK so much more successful, so much more competitive. It's going to allow us to become unleashed from our European Union shackles and really stride powerfully onto the world stage. And what happened? What happened was, it turned out he was massively corrupt. He lied all of the time and was thrown out of office in disgrace because of the fact that he just couldn't stop lying. He cared so little about the general public that while a mandate existed, meaning that we couldn't even go to the funerals of our loved ones, he was sitting there eating cake in a birthday celebration while people were vomiting on the floor within Downing Street. And he lied about it. He lied about breaking his own COVID rules. And then he lied about knowing about the sexual history of a man called Chris Pincher, who it turned out he referred to as Pincher by name, Pincher by, I think you know the rest. He was a liar. He was corrupt, a terrible person, not the sort of person you can give the responsibility of being the head of state. Let's also not forget the fact that he encouraged his own cabinet to go and lie to the Queen in order to prorogue Parliament, so he could shut Parliament down in order to stop rebel MPs and opposition MPs voting against his Brexit bill. Now, this is a guy who did not respect the institutions that he was leading. He didn't respect the people that he was governing in the interests of, supposedly. People like Boris Johnson, people like Donald Trump, they don't know anything except to do what is good for them. And what is good for them depends on the day. It depends who's bribing them the most. It depends who's got intel, which could expose things that they want to keep undercover. And people like Johnson and Trump have plenty of things they want to keep out of the headlines because they're terrible human beings who do terrible things on a regular basis. So there's plenty of stuff you can bribe them with if you know the right information. You pay them enough money, you'll get your interests sorted. And yes, of course, there's corporate corruption. Of course, there's political corruption outside of Johnson and Donald Trump. But they are the absolute worst of the worst. And we voted for Johnson in this country, and we got away with a lucky escape. The fact that he got thrown out of office in disgrace, and the Conservative Party were just about strong enough to get rid of him. And then, of course, we had the absolute monstrosity that was Liz Truss, but that was an even shorter period. And then we had Rishi Sunak, who, to be fair, had the deck stacked against him. I don't agree with him politically, but he was at least a decent human being. And this is really what I want to focus on, is that we need to go back to voting for decent human beings, or at least we need to stop voting for awful, terrible arseholes, such as Boris Johnson, such as Donald Trump, such as Nigel Farage. I mean, come on, let's think about it for a second. Nigel Farage, what are his positive qualities? What have you seen from this man that indicates to you that he's the sort of person who cares about his fellow man? What have you seen from this person that indicates to you that he is going to govern in the interests of us, the British people, and that he's not going to use the power of office in order to stuff his own pockets, to suit his own interests? What have you seen to indicate that? Have you seen anything? How much does he represent the interests of the people of Clacton? Ask the people of Clacton. Ask them how often he turns up to represent them. Has he done any MP surgeries? At one point he said, I'm not going to do any because I'm worried about my physical safety. As if to suggest that doing a surgery, talking to his constituents, interacting with the people who put him into office is such a dangerous prospect that it can't even be contemplated. He should go and tell that to the hundreds of other MPs around the country who do actually see their constituents. How much time does he spend in America trying to cozy up to the right wing over there, people like Donald Trump, who he has so much in common with? How many second, third, fourth, fifth jobs does he have so he can stuff his pockets as much as possible when he's supposed to be acting in the interests of the British taxpayer? And who are the massively wealthy backers, again, stuffing his pockets and stuffing the pockets of those associated with the reform in order to get their interests served, because they see them as being top of the polls and think those are the guys to go to in order to get the best deal that I can get for me and my corporation and my tax status? Nigel Farage is an arsehole. just like Boris Johnson, just like Donald Trump, it's pretty clear that he is not the sort of person that should be given the responsibility of head of state. Yeah, he's shown no good qualities. He's shown no qualities that will be able to bring people together, no qualities that will be able to generate a real sense of communal spirit, of shared purpose. All he's shown is opportunism, divisiveness, and intense, extreme egotism. And that's what it really comes down to. These egotists who are so egotistical, they can't even hide it from the British public. Someone like Barack Obama, someone like Bill Clinton, someone like Tony Blair even, they were egotistical in their own way. You've got to be a bit of an egotist in order to want to lead an entire country. But they were able to keep it under wraps enough to come across as credible human beings. And some people say, oh, that makes them more dangerous because you don't know who they truly are. No, that just means that they're not so intensely, ridiculously debased and debauched and narcissistic that they know how to interact with the general public in a manner that looks credible. That doesn't look like they're just in it for themselves. That doesn't look like they're just chances. That doesn't look like they're there to manipulate an opportunity to serve their own interests. They have enough about them, enough of a sense of what it means to be a public servant to at least appear like a credible public servant. Boris Johnson never had that. He was always a buffoonish character, complete narcissist, out to serve his own ends. Donald Trump, enough said. Just go and speak to his supporters now and see how they feel. At least the ones that aren't completely part of the cult, who actually thought he believed in any of the things that he was campaigning on. And then take a moment to really look at your saviour, if he is your saviour, Nigel Farage, and ask yourself, isn't he just like those other two? Isn't he someone who, again, is so intensely self-involved and narcissistic that he's just not able to hide it? And as a result of that, he will be utterly unable to control it, and he will use all of those base instincts to serve himself and will do nothing to serve the people of this country. I think if we're honest, all the clues are there. And I implore you, all of you, the great and good people of the United Kingdom, do not vote for that arsehole. Thanks for watching the video, and if you have enjoyed any aspect of it, please do like and subscribe. And yeah, let's join together to fight against the narcissists and to actually vote for someone who might actually just care a little bit about our interests.